All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our 12th town hall meeting of Reskill Americans. And we are, I would just want to first off say, like, I am so impressed with the number of people that have kept up with the program and are still working hard. And I know it's been hard. There's a lot of work in going into a boot camp. So, my hat is off to everyone. I've been following along one of the courses, and I've fallen behind myself, so I know how hard it is to kind of keep up with the pace of a program like this one. But congratulations to everyone who's still plugging away and working hard on it. So, good morning, Juan. How are you doing?
Good morning, Mike. It's nice to see you back in your natural setting. I'm excited to be here today and excited to hear what Kedasha is here to share with us today. I think that'll be great for everybody to learn from my experience.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
looking
yeah.
forward to it.
Yeah, so Kadesha was one of the people who really helped us promote Reskill Americans. I think early on you found our program, and so she is herself a boot camp graduate and is now working in the software industry. So I'm really excited to kind of hear about your personal story. So good morning, and let me make sure I'm pronouncing your name. Is Kadesha?
Yes, it's Kedasha, long A.
Okay, great. Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, good morning. Hi. I'm doing quite well. It's nice and sunny in Wisconsin today, which is awesome. But yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for talking with us today. So why don't we kind of give people some background and say, like, where were you, like, maybe 2-3 years ago, before you started your boot camp? And like, we don't need your whole life story, but how is it that you started getting interested in software development, and joining a boot camp?
Yeah, so me 2, 3 years ago, that was what, like 2018, 2017. I was
Seems like more than
working,
that, doesn't it?
I know, I was working in government in Florida, and I was kind of frustrated with my job because I wasn't able to live. Like, I wasn't earning enough, so I wasn't able to save or invest or do anything, support my mom in Jamaica, which is very important to me. And so I was trying to figure out how to manage my finances. That's honestly how my tech journey started. I was learning how to budget. I was learning about personal budgeting, investments, index funds, all the fun stuff. And once I learned about that and I was budgeting the money I was earning, I quickly realized that I really didn't have a spending problem. I had an income problem. And so I went on a quest to resolve that income problem. And so in 2018, I started following a lot of finance bloggers on Instagram. And one of the bloggers said, "Hey, I taught myself to code in 9 months and I got a job." And I was like, "What?" And she's just like, "I'm earning this much and I'm doing this stuff." And I'm just like, "What? What is this coding? What are you talking about?" And so, I swiped up and I read her blog post. And through her blog, I was introduced to Free Code Camp. And so I kind of just fell down the rabbit hole from there. I did Free Code Camp, then I went to Codecademy, then I got stuck in JavaScript land. And so I joined a boot camp to get some additional support. So my journey into tech started with me trying to figure out how to manage the money I was making, only to realize that I just wasn't making enough.
Yeah, you were doing probably fine with what you had, but you need more coming in. That's awesome. So you said, like, you started off just doing like self-learning first, and
Yes.
using Free Code Camp, and just that side I think is really just has a bunch of online lessons, and they
Yes.
also have a YouTube channel with different. From what I've seen, their YouTube posts are like really long. They have some like
Yes.
six-hour videos or
Oh my
something.
goodness, it's amazing. I think last week or some time ago that recently they posted this algorithm course that's 5 hours long and it's so good. I'm like, whoa, mind blown. I would definitely pay for this course. But Free Code Camp is an amazing resource. I just found the self-taught route in so the first time I saw code was December 2018. And so when I was self-learning, I found it very difficult to grasp the concepts on my own. because I'm coming from a social work background. Like I knew nothing about programming languages and connecting all these things. And so it was kind of difficult for me to make all the connections on my own, which is why I decided to join a boot camp in March 2019.
All right. And which boot camp was that again? Did you want to talk about them or?
So I went to Lambda School, and in 2019, Lambda School was one of the only schools offering ISAs, or something called income sharing agreement, where you don't pay anything up front. They will train you out the gate, and after you get a job earning over a certain amount of money, then you start paying them back. And so because I was broke, I didn't have any money to put down, and I didn't want to take out any loans because I was learning about finance. I joined Lambda School, and it's an amazing program. It's definitely one of the harder boot camps. It's a 9-month program if you go full time, and it's very intense. But it definitely prepared me for the job I have now, and I have no regrets.
That's
Honestly.
amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, I know it is expensive, especially when you get like I think well, a lot of boot camps are, in the over $10,000 range, and
Oh yeah, Lambda School is quite expensive.
yeah. And I know even some of the other I mean, we are not for profit, and but we're paying salaries for mentors and stuff like that, So, but we're trying to be frugal, and it's it can add up really quickly once you try to get people helping everyone, and the amount of time. Of course, the amount of time the students put in is swamps the amount of time that, I would say that the investment of students' time is the biggest expense. Like
exactly.
That's
and
amazing.
I think that's one of the reasons I was so excited when I saw your program. I was just like, whoa, there's this free boot camp. They're going to train you in everything just like Lambda School, and then they're going to help you to get a job. And you don't have to pay anything. You just have to show up and do the work. I was like, whoa, I wish I had this and I wasn't paying back 17% of my income every month. But it's okay. You live and you learn. And so that's why I love what you guys are doing.
Yeah. Well, I certainly, I think there's room for a lot of different models in this space. And I'm very excited that there are lots of people who are taking advantage of all the different opportunities for learning and so on. So you started off, were you interested in kind of like the kind of front end development and that sort of thing? Or how did you start your learning from scratch?
Yeah, so when I started learning in December and January, so December and January, I covered like HTML and CSS, and I built some small projects. And then in February, that's when I got to JavaScript. And in February, I kind of honed in on what I wanted to do. So from my research, I learned that front-end development is one of the easier ways to get into software development. And so I decided to be a front-end developer. And so I remember the day I sent out a tweet. I'm like, by the end of 2019, I'm going to be a front-end developer. And I had no idea what I was saying, but I believed it in my heart and it was going to happen. And so I made a self-study plan. I was just like, this month you're going to do this, you're going to learn this, you're going to build this. But I'm telling you, man, I got to JavaScript and I was just like, what is going on?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What is going on? And so that's when I started looking into boot camps and went to one. And so on my journey into the boot camp, it was very difficult. It was very difficult for me. But I'm on the other side.
Yeah. You mean it was just difficult to transition to like learning JavaScript and
yeah, so at the time I was still working full-time at my government
that's hard.
job. So I was going part-time, and then I had to have a conversation with my partner. I'm just like, we can live on your income alone for these few months, and I'll be sure to get a job by the end of the year. And so she agreed, and I was just like, yes. And so I quit my job and I went to school full-time, but I was still working part-time on the weekends because I still had to cover my rent. But I say the bootcamp was difficult for me because breezed through HTML, CSS, of course, but then I got to JavaScript again, and I don't know what it is about JavaScript, but it was so hard for me to put all the concepts together. But it became a lot easier because I had those like teaching assistants or not the professors, but the teachers to go to and ask questions. Yeah, the instructors. So that made it a little less intimidating. And plus I made friends in the boot camp. And so we would study together. So
Oh,
that
that's
also
great.
helped. Yeah, that helped me a lot as well. But it was definitely a lot of tears because I still find JavaScript frustrating. It was definitely a lot of tears and a lot of late nights for
Oh,
sure.
wow. Yeah, I I kind of, for some of us who got interested in programming when we were like, practically children, and
Yeah.
and then it kind of, I think learning stuff, at that point in your life, there's no pressure and you're just kind of doing it for fun, and the concepts kind of come along. And then of course I went to college for
Yeah.
a computer science degree, and I had 4 years to learn,
Right. Exactly.
learn things.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So like looking back on it now, would you have any advice for yourself entering that phase of like learning the JavaScript programming language, or
I would
maybe just encouragement, like you're gonna
yeah,
make
it would
it?
just be like just stay the course. And I think one of the things I should have done more of is build more projects outside of the classroom. So one thing with JavaScript is the more projects you build and the more times you fail at something, the better you become at that particular technology. Because JavaScript can do so many things, but in order to get like the fundamentals of JavaScript that translates across languages, you really do have to just keep practicing. And I would also tell myself to practice those logic type questions that are on like Leak Code and Code War and stuff, because I think that also improves your logical thinking and it helps you to think through processes that the computer is thinking about. And so we're trying to communicate with the computer. So I would just tell myself to just practice more and keep crying and just stay the course.
Yeah, we are kind of wrapping up our kind of classroom work portion of our boot camp now, and some people are a couple weeks behind, and that's okay. We're I think as long as people are trying to catch up, we're not going to cut anyone off. But
Yeah.
but the project based stuff, I think like what you said is really important. And that's kind of where like a lot of stuff I really think starts to click when you start to build things like that.
Yes, even if it's just following YouTube tutorials, there are some really amazing content creators on YouTube that's pushing out really quality JavaScript work. And so you can just build a project with them, build it with them, and then build it on your own just to see if you understand the concept. Or even if you just don't build it on your own, read through the code to see, I see, that's how you use that. Oh. And it's like all these connections start happening in your brain, and your brain start creating new wavelengths and grooves and all that magical biological stuff start happening in your brain. But it's just like the more you practice and the more you iterate, it's like the better that you'll become. Like 2 years after learning JavaScript, I finally feel like I have some semblance of what it's doing. But it's still tough. I think JavaScript will forever be my kryptonite because it's still it's still maddening.
Well, it's also like a changing thing. Like it's changing a lot, or the capabilities in the browser are changing a lot, and things like TypeScript are coming along, and so but I did like what you said there, is that like the JavaScript has a lot of similarities with other programming languages. I think people should realize that all that effort you're putting into understanding your first programming language will really apply, like to if you need to learn Python or C or whatever those other languages, or Java. They all have a lot of the same core concepts, and
absolutely
you'll have those like kind of in your brain, and you'll see transitioning to your second language comes along much faster.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100% agree.
So when you finished your boot camp, what kind of skills did you have coming out of your boot camp, do you think?
Yeah, so I was in Lambda school from, let's say, like March 2019 to August 2019, and I finished the front end and the back end portion of the curriculum. So we learned HTML, CSS, JavaScript, we learned the React library, and then we went on to Node.js, we learned Express, we learned how to build like the full stack. And so I had gotten a scholarship to go to the Grace Hopper conference that was happening in October 2019.
Oh, wow.
Sometime during my boot camp thing, I saw the scholarship thing and I applied. And I made it my goal once I got that scholarship to get a job at the career fair. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I was just like, I'm gonna get a job because I need to start working. And so in August, when I finished the back end portion of the curriculum, no, in July, when I finished the back end portion of the curriculum, I found like a UX designer. So we had, at the time, they had a UX course as well. So I found a UX designer. I said, hey, I want to build this application. Can you do the design stuff for me? Because I'm not very good at designing. So he did that too, and he got to put it on his portfolio. And so with him building that out, I started working on the back end portion. And so once he was finished with the design, I started working on the front end portion. And so by the end of September, I had like a full stack app ready to show employers at the Grace Hopper conference.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it was a lot of work. I still don't know how I did it. But yeah, so I had a full stack app at the conference to show, and I was also working at Lambda School as like a what was I forgot, but it was like a student mentor position,
like a TA kind of thing.
Yes. So I was managing TAs, teaching assistants who manage the students. So I was basically responsible for a cohort of people to make sure that students were going well. If there were issues, I would intervene and such. So I also had that experience as well to show off to the Grace Hopper folks. And nice. So I got to the Grace Hopper conference, and I just lived in the career fair, right? I just lived there because that's what I was there for. And it was hard. It's a pretty big conference. I was so overwhelmed. And I remember at one point, I just started crying because I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so intimidated. It was like imposter syndrome. And I'm just like, I'm just gonna go home. I'm just not gonna do it. But I didn't.
Good.
I went to my current employer's booth, and I was talking to the engineering director about my experience and specifically about my project, because my project perfectly aligned with the job, the work that the company did. And so she loved it. And 15 minutes later, I got a job offer. And
oh my gosh, right there in the conference floor. You're
not on the spot, but like we were talking for like an hour and a half or so. Yeah. And then like it took me about 10-15 minutes to walk to my car, because conferences are huge. And so when I got to my car and I checked my email, I saw like a job offer waiting for me in my email, and I cried. I bust out crying. I was like, whoa, oh my gosh.
I'm sensing a theme that crying is a big part of your journey.
Yes.
tears of joy or tears of whatever anxiety.
Yes.
I feel for that. I can relate to that. So
but yeah, it's
that's great. So like so now you had to relocate to another state.
Yes, so I had to relocate to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So we moved here December 2019. So 2019 was a huge year. So I saw code December 2018, and by December 2019, I was moving across the state for a job. What? More than doubling my income. I think I almost tripled my income in 1 year. So there goes my income problem, right? That's solved. Yeah. But it's just so wild. Even now I think about it, I'm just like, wow, I can't believe I did that. Even sometimes I'm at work and I'm just like, wow, I can't believe I do this for work. Like, that's crazy. So yeah, we moved to Wisconsin December 2019, and I started working January 2020, and then pandemic hit March 2020.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So I moved to Wisconsin to work from home, pretty much.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm trying to think. Well, at least you got the experience the winters, and I don't know if you ever lived up north or
never. So I'm originally from Jamaica, and then I moved to Florida. Lived in Florida for I think 10 or 11 years, and then I came to Wisconsin, and that was a culture shock. Because December, we moved in winter, and so it was snowing. and it was just freezing. When we got here in December, it was about 20 degrees. And it was freezing, but we made it through. Whatever, it was an experience, and now we know we don't like the snow. It is gross.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
don't
well,
like it.
it's maybe an acquired taste, but
Yes.
so I'm kind of curious about, the transition into the workplace, and especially like in the technology field. And I was chatting with one of our participants over the weekend, and I think there's a lot of potential, like, anxiety about what that's going to be like. And I think not without cause. One of the reasons we started this program is that we realized that how underrepresented certain people are in technology, in software development specifically. And so a lot of our participants are going to be entering into a workforce with a lot of people that don't look like them, maybe don't have a lot of the shared experiences as them. And we do want to help people, like, prepare for that and know what they're getting into. I don't know if you have any, want to talk about how that was for you, or if you experienced issues like that, as you started to work in your company.
I mean, yeah, it was. So as a social worker, I work with, and not just as a social worker, but as a social worker in Florida, I worked with and saw people that looked like me and people that looked like everybody else. It was a broad spectrum. Working and living in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, is very different. It's very different. The population is different. The communication styles are different. The social norms are different. It's just very different. And so a lot of technical teams, unfortunately, are not very diverse. I'm not just talking about them, I'm talking about in companies in general.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And so that is to me is one of the biggest issues and the biggest hurdle that I face working in technology. It's just that sometimes it's difficult to not see myself anywhere. But I don't know. I just kind of I don't think about it. Like, I don't allow it to permeate my mind and get me down, because if I do, then I won't do any work, and then I lose my job. So I try not to focus on it. I just try to focus on, okay, how can I make a difference, and how can I add value to the company so they can see that, more diversity is needed. And I know, like, now a lot of companies are focused on trying to attract more diverse workers into their workforce. I don't have much to say about it.
All right.
I just have to say, like, it's a problem and it really needs to be addressed, because it's definitely an issue. And that's kind of one of the reasons I started sharing content on Instagram this year, because I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to show folks that everybody doesn't look one way in tech, and you don't have to just do one thing in tech. And there are a lot of us, but there aren't a lot of us, if that makes sense. But you just kind of have to just stay the course and take breaks when you have to.
Yeah. And I think, on the one hand, you have a lot, I think the awareness of social justice issues in our society, we've come a long way in the last year, I think, but we have, hundreds of years of
correct
prejudices and all kinds of other things going on. So I would say, like, on the plus side, that the fact that many companies are realize that this is an issue that they should be focused on. They sent a recruiter to the conference. I think specifically looking for more diverse people on the technology team and trying to diversify. So that's a plus. But I think the reality is that once you hit a company's, it's pervasively, like, everyone in your company might not necessarily be as educated about dealing with people that they are not used to working with before.
I think it's just, if you're going in and you're a diverse candidate, just go in with the awareness that you may be the only one, or you may be one of 5, and don't let it get you down. Just focus on, okay, what am I going to bring to this company? How can I grow myself? Just focus on your career and focus on the output, right? Just focus on what you can give and what you bring to the table.
Yeah.
And if there's ever a position that you can refer to your friends, refer it to your friends.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Bring your friends in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, I think the idea of like, kind of after, once you start working, like what's, did you learn everything you need to know like in boot camp and like you're done learning? Or I kind of think the opposite is like, kind of a constantly needing to learn new things, especially entering an existing company that has a bunch of ways that they do things.
Oh my gosh. So one thing with bootcamp is bootcamps will give you the tools and the technology that you need to succeed in your role. What does that mean? So you learn how to build a full stack application. You learn how to build servers on the back end. You learn how to work with databases. You learn how to integrate these systems into projects that you build on your own. When you start working, it's a completely different ballgame, right? So let's say I have a project, Mike has a project, Juan has a project, and we all need to integrate that into one product. And then that product is what our client sees. And so that integration is what we can't learn that at bootcamp. We have to learn that on the job. So knowing how to navigate a huge code base is definitely one of the major hurdles that you'll face when you start working at your job. But don't despair. You have your team members to go to, your senior engineers, your manager, people in your department. You can ask questions if you're stuck on something. If you don't know anything about continuous integration or continuous development, CI/CD, you learn that on your job because it's very important to know. One thing that you do need to teach yourself, though, if your bootcamp doesn't, is Git. Knowing how to use the terminal and Git is super important. Yeah. I use that every single day at my job.
Yeah.
Knowing how to clone, fork, create repos is very, very important because your company is going to have a central source of truth where you're going to pull down the projects and work on it. That's something that's definitely needed to know. And don't discount your soft skills. Communication and documentation are two of the most important skills in the development lifecycle. Because without good communication, you won't know how to use the technology. Without knowing how to properly communicate with your team members, you really won't get anywhere on the product. So just go in there with an open mindset. Just be willing to learn, be willing to cry, be willing to say, you know what, I don't know. When you start your role, and like what I do at work is I embrace that junior title to the fullest. I'm just like, you know what? I really don't understand this. Can you please show me? And people love that. They're just like, yeah, let me show you. I can teach you. People love talking about the things that they know. Embrace your junior title and just use it to your advantage. You know what? I tried XYZ. It didn't work. Can you show me how to do something else?
Yeah.
Just be open. Just be open and just be a continuous. You really have to have an appetite for learning because there's so much there's so much to learn. Yeah. And building one project in bootcamp is not the same as building a project that's a part of a large code base.
Yeah. I think like as a hiring manager, like seeing that you completed a project on your own, that shows them like you have the ability to stick with stuff. You know how to solve all those problems. But yeah, it is a different experience once you get there. Absolutely. Into a company, how they do things.
I think one thing I really appreciated about Lambda School is so once we finished the full stack curriculum, we worked in a team of, I think it was like 6 or 8 people. So we had developers, we had designers, we had product managers. So we pretty much worked in a team to build a real project for an external company. And so I really appreciated having that experience because it taught me how to communicate on a technical team, which is very important. So if your bootcamp doesn't offer that, just find a group of people and just work with them. One of the best advice I have is to just make friends in your bootcamp, make friends and build stuff together. Because when you learn together, you kind of retain it more because there's that social aspect to learning. But that's something I definitely loved about Lambda School.
That's great. Yeah, and I think your ability to not feel like yeah, not feel too much anxiety about not knowing things, and be willing to
Right.
ask questions or ask for help, or and I think also at the same time what you said is like balancing, you don't want to get a reputation for like, oh, that person doesn't do anything, all they do is like pester me to find out how to do their job. So I think what you said is like, I tried 3 things. I'm
Exactly.
trying to do it myself, but sometimes you don't have all the background to know like how to do something the right way. So but
Exactly.
yeah, showing people that you're not just like kind of leeching off other people.
You have the initiative to do
You're a
it.
learning developer. Yeah, yeah. So I think that's really a great piece of advice.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your kind of social media work that you've been doing. Like at what point did you decide that you were going to start going on Instagram and talking about your journey and stuff like that? Where were you when you kind of started that?
Yeah, so when I started my journey in December of 2018, I started on like Twitter, because on Twitter you have this like hashtag 100 days of code thing.
Okay,
And
yeah.
so like every day or almost every day I would tweet what I was learning either on my own, or when I was in my boot camp, I would tweet out what I was learning in my boot camp. So that's how I started on Twitter. But then when I started working in 2020, I ghosted. I was not on Twitter. I was not on Instagram. I was not anywhere because I was 100% focused on like trying to learn what was going on at work. So I didn't have the bandwidth to share anything with anyone or to offer advice to anyone. But after 2020 and going into this year, I felt like I kind of had a handle on what my role was, what my contribution level is, what I'm expected to do. And so I was just like, okay, let me get back on social media. And so I decided to go on Instagram. And so one of the main reasons I decided to go on Instagram is because from my social work days, I learned that one of the best ways to learn is to teach. And so I decided to share content about like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, just so I can retain the concepts that I think I know, but also to impart that knowledge to other people. And so that's kind of why I started the Instagram page, honestly. It was a selfish reason, but it ended up benefiting so many people now.
Yeah, I really like the way you kind of boil down like complicated issues into just like a few slides, and
It's so hard.
and just like it is fun. Like I think you had a quiz recently, like asking people to answer a quiz, and so yeah, it's really fun. I think it's just it's cool that you kind of can highlight, here's some really cool technology, and here's a taste, here's enough of a taste that you can say like, oh, this is interesting, I can understand this stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, I really enjoy the content creation aspect because I've been able to speak with people at like other conferences about my experience, and I'm here talking about my experience here. And I've met so many great people that work in technology. And I think sharing your experience on social media can also attract a lot of opportunities to you, especially if you're looking to get your name out there more. I know a lot of employers always lurk Twitter for developers. Twitter has a huge developer community that's definitely important to tap into. So it's definitely important to have like a Twitter presence and make sure that your LinkedIn is up to date and up to par with like the current work that you're doing. Like, don't discredit your former experiences because you're not coming into the workforce as a brand new worker. You have a lot of soft skills that's very, very valuable to the company that you're going into. But yeah, if you want to get your name out there, definitely start sharing on social media and follow me on Instagram.
Okay, so it's that lady.dev.
Yes, it's that lady dev.
Yeah. Is the dot needed, or is that I don't even know how Instagram works with the
It's
name.
not needed. I put
Okay.
that there because I'm gonna start a blog sometime this year. And so that's
Oh,
gonna be
okay,
my
okay.
blog.
Okay, all right. And the same thing on Twitter. I think you had the
Yeah.
same handle there. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned like LinkedIn. I think not everyone has the personality of like, okay, I'm going to be out there posting on a lot of social media, but I like what you're saying. We've been asking people to be sure to update their LinkedIn profiles, and I've gotten a lot of people like connecting to me, and like they put in their LinkedIn, like, I'm a student at Reskill Americans, and I
Right.
think we are talking to employers, and they're, I think our name is starting to get a little bit more visibility. And so, hopefully we're going to help kind of boost, your ability to get recognized or contacted by potential employers and things like that too.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Yeah, LinkedIn is definitely an important platform. I think LinkedIn is very undermined, or like people really don't think, oh, it's not that big a deal. It is. Recruiters will reach out to you all the time if you have an optimized LinkedIn profile. Just look it up on YouTube, how to optimize my LinkedIn profile for free. Google it, how to optimize my LinkedIn profile. And there'll be blogs and a lot of resources. Go on Instagram, search LinkedIn profile, and you will find people that will teach you how to do it. I spent a lot of time on my LinkedIn just to make sure that it was good. I had all the technologies there, who I am, some personality, just to make sure that it was good and kosher. But yeah, definitely. And don't rely on your bootcamp to do everything for you. They can't. You have to take your learning into your own hands. Like, you want to change your career, it is your responsibility to do so. I did not wait on my bootcamp to connect me with a job. I was just like, I want to work now, so I'm going to work. And so that's what I did. I went out and I looked for the work, but I prepared myself, right? You really do have to just not rely on a bootcamp to do everything, because they can only do so much.
Yeah. Well, we've had several of our students tell me, like, oh, hey, I've an interview with this company, or, like they're not done with our boot camp, but they're out there. Like I'm getting out there and getting my, talking to potential employers. And I'd even say to people, it's one of the more intimidating things for someone who's not done it before is like interviewing for a job. My daughter-in-law, she kind of has as a personal hobby, she likes to interview for jobs. And so she just enjoys it a lot. And, she's always thinking about her career and what she wants to do next, but she's done it so much. She's kind of a professional interviewer. That's awesome. So she is, I think, it's a lot of the anxiety associated with that. She knows what she's doing. And so if you want to interview with a company, or if someone says, hey, would you like to do an interview? Like, I wouldn't shy away from it for the feeling that you're maybe not ready yet, because you can always just say, hey, look, this is going to be a way for me to learn, like, how does an interview work, and get that experience. It is scary. I'm not going to lie. It can be scary, especially, but if you look at it as a learning experience, it can be a really good thing to do.
There's an awesome website called Pramp. I don't know if you know about pramp.com.
I don't know. PRAMP?
PRAMP. So pramp.com, it's a site you can go and you can practice technical interviews. They'll connect you with somebody and they'll interview you like you're in a real interview. It's really, really good.
Oh, cool. Okay, that's great. Yeah, and we will try to do that a lot more later on in our program. We're gonna talk about that as well. But I think your advice to students is that, we can't do everything for everybody, so it's, we can do our best to introduce you to the things that we think are important, but, take that responsibility for yourself. Why don't we go to some questions? We had someone post on Slack last night. Let's see. They talked about when you're changing from social work to software engineers. Well, maybe you've answered this already, but how do you position yourself as a software engineer? There's someone who's trying to change careers from an unrelated field. It feels like I have no relevant experience, and the resume says I work in retail. I'm not a potential developer. What are the things you would recommend to change that?
Yeah. So one of the things I would recommend is to update your LinkedIn profile. Brand yourself online as a software engineer. That's something that I still struggle with, because I don't like to say that I'm a software engineer. I like to say I'm a developer. I develop software. But online, I brand myself as a software engineer, and I put all my skills, all my technical proficiency in my LinkedIn profile. That's step one. Step two, connect with a career coach if you can. They will help you to pull out those relevant experiences that you've had in your past jobs. Because believe me, everything you've done leading up to this moment is relevant to you getting a job working in technology. Every single thing. Connect with someone or just do a YouTube deep dive on how to pull experiences out of your past jobs to level up your resume. The next thing is to do is to build a project. Build a comprehensive project and deploy it to the internet that showcases all of the skill sets that you have. That's something I did, and I made sure that my project was very prominent on my resume, and I kind of buried the experiences that didn't directly relate to technology, but I had those bullet points that showed like collaboration, communication, documentation, managing projects. Those are all very important in your role as a software engineer. But definitely one of the best things to do is to build a full project that demonstrates your skill set and plop it on your resume.
That's great. Yeah, and I think you're right. It's like even your past experience. As a software developer, you're not actually writing code 8 hours a day. You are doing so many other things. You are working with people. You are building plans, scheduling. You are, helping other people. All these other things that you probably have done in the context of another job. And I like that you can kind of reframe your past experience to really highlight, the skills, those soft skills or non-technical skills that you have already exhibited in your past life that are totally going to apply to your new job.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. So Dinah asked, looking back on your career changes, is there anything you wish you would have known or would have done differently?
I wish I knew that there were scholarships available for bootcamp students because I didn't know, but there are so many scholarships. I also wish I knew that there were free programs available for people that wanted to change their career, but you live and you learn. I also wish I knew how important documentation is. Documentation, it's like one of the best ways you can make an impact in your first job as a developer is to create documentation for the team. They will love you. They will love you, and then you'll become known as the documentation person. But documentation is so important.
Yeah, I would agree. I think when I was at Google, I had a similar experience. I was new to a team, and I just kind of embraced like, hey, we need to write a lot more to make our technology accessible, like to other people, both inside and outside our company. But okay, let's go ahead, Juan.
Okay, yeah, I did want to take a question from YouTube. Asia was asking if there was one concept in JavaScript that made the light bulb go off and helped you connect most of the dots.
Nope.
Yeah.
I still struggle with JavaScript. Let me tell you. Understanding the fundamentals of JavaScript and implementing those fundamentals in complex ways are two different things. Honestly, nothing has made JavaScript go off in my head as a light bulb. I'm still working through it. But one of the best things I can tell you is to build projects. There's this developer on YouTube. I believe her name is Anya. Anya developer. I'm looking it up. I don't remember her name. Yes, her name is, it's code with Anya, Kubow, and she does a lot of like games in JavaScript, and games will teach you how to think logically. I really love her Instagram, her YouTube. It's amazing. But when it comes to learning JavaScript, you kind of just have to cry through it and struggle through it until you kind of sort of kind of know what you're doing and you can contribute somewhat to the project.
Yeah. I definitely think there are different levels too. Like, there's just like the kind of simple or functional things, the simple data types, and then you start to get into maybe object-oriented stuff, and then you have to understand classes and how you're going to structure your code with classes and those kind of paradigms. And then you have all the asynchronous code in JavaScript and callbacks and
higher order components.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. I mean, the good thing about JavaScript is that it's always like evolving and adding new
Yes.
features and adding capabilities and libraries that are give you superpowers, but
Yes.
they come at the price of like, yeah, there's a lot of concepts that might be unfamiliar. You have to kind of pick up and
Correct.
internalize. Yeah.
Alexandra had a question. Says, when dealing with imposter syndrome, how do you come to terms that you are ready to start working with the knowledge that you have?
Honestly, when it comes to imposter syndrome, I don't even pay attention. I don't even pay attention to it. My philosophy in life is to do it scared. If I am, well, it's just like if you do it scared, you're still going to be scared. If you don't do it, you're still going to be scared. So in my mind, it's just like, might as well be scared for a reason. And honestly, you'll never know if you're ready to do something until you jump in. So like I said, once I finished the front end and the back end and the databases portion of my bootcamp, I decided to build a full stack project. And then after I was finished with the project, I decided to start applying for jobs and interviewing because I wanted to see, am I ready? Am I ready to start working? What do I need to work on? I kind of wanted to gauge where I was. So I feel imposter syndrome every single day, but I set the bar very low for myself. I'm like, as long as you show up every day, you're good. You can figure it out. So if I show up every day, which I did, I showed up today. I showed up today, which is good. I'm good. Like I can figure it out. I have Google, I have YouTube, I have my coworkers, I have the Twitter community. Like you can figure it out. Just say to imposter syndrome, you know what? Just stop talking. I'm good. I showed up today.
And I think the point that I did want to add to that was the fact that like I'm currently giving like I'm doing more videos now in terms of just recording. And I found like I watched a lot of videos on how to just get started.
Yeah.
But it's when I start to record that I start to see the things that I think I understood on a theoretical level not translate when I'm trying it out. So now I have to go back again and say, oh, so I do a video, but it's shaking a lot. I'm like, okay, I don't have a gimbal, but how can I make it more stable? And then I just watch a bunch of videos and now I'm able to solve that problem, which if I just stayed in my head and I didn't do anything, I would still be at that point not knowing any better. So yeah, exactly. I completely agree.
Exactly. You don't know what you don't know until you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. And the next question is from Space Dandy 94. He says, I have experience as a graphic design artist. Is this considered a plus when working on front-end development position with a company?
Yeah, because you can do design work, which is amazing. We love an engineer who is multifaceted. So because you have that design eye, you're more prone to just see the things that are a little bit off that I don't see. I'm just like, it's working, so move on. But you're more inclined to see that. And also because you already know how to work with those software, it'll be easier for you to pick up other software to work with. But I think it's definitely a plus. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I really loved working with people who had that design sense, and you know, you're right. That's not everybody has it. I think I have the ability to say, there's something wrong with this. It doesn't look right. But I don't know what to do to make it look better. And you know, it's so great to work with people who do have that. You know, like oh, it's the color palette, or it's the font choice, or you know, things like that are, you know, they really have they've studied it, or they've paid attention to how to you know, fix those problems. But yeah, I love working with people who have artistic talent. So yeah, but yeah, I'm kind of I have done a little bit. I went to art school after I retired once from and learned a little bit of drawing, but it doesn't necessarily apply to so much to like web design directly. Right. But yeah, we had one artist at Google who she drew like little cute little avatars for everybody, these great
That's
for
awesome.
the team and stuff like that. And she ended up doing a lot of things for that team, and then things that we
Exactly.
actually shipped in the product and stuff like that. It was great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to bring to your attention that a lot of people on our YouTube say they totally love you.
Follow me on Instagram.
For more of that goodness.
Yeah.
This isn't really a question, but Ebony is a little scared. She said that she's absolutely afraid to update her LinkedIn profile, and that's a problem for her. So I was hoping that you could say something to inspire her to just go for it.
Are you afraid because you don't want your employers to know? Like, what are you afraid of? If you're afraid, like one thing I was afraid of was updating my LinkedIn profile. You know how when you update your profile, LinkedIn automatically lets everybody know? It's just like let everybody in your business. You can turn that off. If you don't want anyone in your business, there is a setting. I don't remember exactly what it is, but if you go into setting, there should be an option to turn that off. I turned that off, and it made changing up my profile a lot easier for me because I didn't have to worry about, oh my God, they're going to see it. Oh my God, I changed it again. They're going to see it again. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. No, you can manage your data and activity. I don't know, Ebony, go into LinkedIn and go into your settings and try to find out where it's in the visibility section. Find out where in the visibility section you can turn off the sharing the automatic updates or whatever. Turn it off. It's too much noise. Like you don't need anybody in your business unless they want to hire you.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
All right. Well, one thing before we go, I do want to ask you, like, what are your we talked about It's at Lady Dev on Instagram, but you said something earlier that you're doing like a podcast now. Is that right? Or is that going to be coming out?
Yes. So I'm working on a podcast with two other amazing Black software engineers. It's going to be Sandy and Samantha. We're starting a podcast called Deeper Than Tech. It's coming out sometime soon. We just finished recording the episode, so now we have to edit and do all that fun stuff.
Oh, okay. Yet another new thing to learn.
Exactly. Definitely follow me on Instagram to keep up with that. I'm mostly active on Instagram these days at It's That Lady Dev.
Sorry, I was just typing that in so people could see that. So what do you have any other, I don't know if we haven't covered any other advice for people kind of at this stage? People in here are, I think of like you finished your project probably after your 9 months of boot camp. Is that right?
No,
Or you
didn't. So I technically haven't graduated from my own school.
Oh, really? Okay.
I have the computer science portion left, which is the hardest section.
Oh, okay. So it's still ongoing.
Yes, I do plan to go back sometime this year to get it done. Because I just want to be finished with Lambda, so I finished paying them back next March, and I'm so excited.
Oh, nice.
But yes, I'm technically not finished, but I did finish the front end. The full stack portion of the curriculum is finished. It's just the computer science portion I have.
Oh, wow. Okay. So like, but you finished your project and then, or you did your personal project, I guess, which then kind of launched you into getting a job.
I did my personal project and I was just like, okay, it's time to go to work.
Awesome. I don't know, is there any other advice you'd give for people who are kind of like, they're probably, many of our participants are kind of in the middle stages of this whole journey. But, we finished, I think we're about 2.5 months or so of classwork and things like that now. And we're just going to start on projects soon. So I don't know if you have any advice for people. You've kind of mentioned some stuff like this already.
I would say one of the best things you can do for yourself is to work on your mindset. So your mind has a lot to do with how you approach things, how you see yourself, and how you even envision yourself in the future. One thing I used to do when I was in boot camp is I would tell myself that I'm a software engineer every single day. Even if I didn't believe it, I would tell myself that until I started believing it. Like, you really have to start working on how you think about your life, your role, what you want, and where you're going. Like, how does software engineering help to make you a better person, or help you to achieve your goals? Like, what's the point, right? What's your why? My why was my mom. I love my mom, love supporting my mom. She was my biggest motivator. And so, like, what is your why? And don't give up. If you have to cry, just cry. Who cares? Just cry it out and then move on. And don't forget to eat. I didn't eat well when I was in boot camp. Drink water, eat, walk, see the sun, and just keep practicing.
Yeah. And there's kind of an infinite amount of things to learn, and you can only learn it one step at a time.
You can only learn so much, man.
Yeah, that's great. All right, Juan, I don't know if we have any others, other questions.
Yeah, I did have one from Justin. It says that he has an LLC that creates websites for small and local businesses. He doesn't say skill set, but he says is doing this alone something that you would advise against, or do you need a team for front end, back end, and UI UX?
Oh no, go right ahead and do your business. You can use WordPress. There's so many like drag and drop platforms that you can use to deliver like quality websites or web applications to local businesses. That is a great way to practice your skills and get paid while you're learning. So definitely go ahead and do it. And if you don't know something, just hire somebody from Upwork or one of those platforms. If you don't know something, outsource it. Just outsource it and deliver it to your client. Brad Traversy is great. Like, I know he started out doing websites for people. Look up one of his videos. He talked about like what it's like running a company like that.
Oh, is that Traversy Media?
Traversy Media?
Yeah. It's a lot of. I like Fireship.io. I don't know if you've ever seen Jeff. If you've ever seen his videos. Oh yeah, he's amazing. Well, he's done some courses on his website, but he does these amazing 100 seconds, some technology in 100 seconds, and like he'll just go through.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so fast, and you're kind of like, wow, that. But you can see how he's so excited about what you can do with things. I enjoy that a lot too. So
that's awesome. Another YouTuber I love is Sydney Buckner. That's her name on YouTube. She talks a lot about like what it's truly like being a developer. Like, she goes into the nitty-gritty and just tells you the truth, and she offers a lot of advice. So I'd encourage you to check her out as well. She's awesome.
Cool.
I think our last question is from Danielle. And the question is, what were some of the new technologies you had to learn when you received your new job? And how did you become confident learning them on the job? And also, how do you remember it? Do you remember any of the questions they asked you at the job fair?
So no to the questions at the job fair. I don't remember. But what were some of the new tech I had to learn on the job? So at work, we use GraphQL is something I had to learn.
Oh, that's cool.
I had to learn GraphQL. There are also some projects that have Gatsby. I haven't fully learned Gatsby, but I did start picking it up. We also use Docker.
Yeah, containers. Yeah.
Containers. I had to figure that out. AWS. We use a system called New Relic. That's how we see what's going on in our application. We use Kibana. That's how we see some other stuff that's going on in our application.
There's a lot of things on the side, like analytics, things that let you kind of
Keep Adobe Analytics. Just some stuff like that. So it's like tech specific to the company or specific to an application that I kind of had to learn. But honestly, most of my work is done in React and Redux and Node.
Yeah. And something I wanted to touch on that was really powerful, because I think about 5 or 4 weeks ago, we started to like communicate with participants on like just using social media more. And there were two
Mhm.
things that you said today that really jumped at me. First of all, is like the more you share, the more you learn. And
Yes.
also the more you get yourself out there, there are potential people who are interested. Like Twitter, you said, people are always looking to hire. I think the third thing that stand out to me also is that it tends to keep you accountable, because the fact that you have to share things all the time, you are constantly thinking about what new insight can I give, what new
Yes.
perspective, and that kind of like maybe that'll probably lead you a rabbit hole 2-3 hours of having to study something just to be confident
Yes.
when you're speaking to people about it.
That's
So yeah,
exactly what
I think that
happens.
that is great advice that I just wanted to reiterate, and I didn't know if you had any last words on that.
When it comes to content creation, it can be overwhelming. I say choose one platform and get good at that platform. Choose, say, you can start out by posting, okay, I'm going to post 2 times a week. That's it. And just go there and just be consistent. But yeah, the more you share, the more you earn. Don't try to go all over the place and do Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and there's a new one, TikTok. Don't try to do them all at once. Just choose one platform and just ease your way in.
All right, Kedasha, we're kind of out of time here. I want to respect our time limit for everybody, but you are so inspirational for everyone. I really thank you so much also for helping us get our, I think you helped us quite a bit getting started and getting the word out about what we were doing, and thanks so much for sharing your story with us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Feel free to reach out to me anytime on Instagram, and don't DM me on Twitter. I'm not really on Twitter
Okay.
very actively, but Instagram is primarily where I am. But yeah, it was great being here. I love sharing my experience, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
All right. Yeah, same here. So goodbye, everyone, and thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, stream is over.